Hi everybody, this is Dark Storm Comic Reviews here with a review on Green Goblin issue 10. So we get started and this book starts out and we see this, big statue guy with like this smile, wondering what this is. Well, apparently this is called MURDERWORLD. We see that Green Goblin wakes up inside a pinball. He's being like ricocheted across the room and everything, and it's a pretty cool scene. He's getting ricocheted across this pinball floor with these electric pinball things hitting him. It's pretty cool. And Green Goblin's wondering like, well, what is this? What's happening here? And then he gets ricocheted into like this hole, I guess. And he like falls down the hole, and he ends up crashing, and it kind of breaks his glass prism that he was captured in. And so yeah, then he's just like, what am I doing here? What is this? What's going on here? And we've all find out the two people that are behind it. This guy named Arcade, who kind of looks like Two-Face. And then we got this other guy named Gaunt. G-A-U-N-T. That's how you spell his name, Gaunt. And they're like, hey, okay, so I need you to kill Arcade. I need you to kill Green Goblin because my employer, he wants his weapons and his equipment. So, you need to kill him. You need to fulfill my employer's contract, Arcade. You need to kill him. Arcade's like, yeah, all in due time. I'm an artist. I like to be imaginative and creative with my heels, and all this other stuff. So we keep going. And Goblin's like flying around. He sees that someone's being captured as a hostage. And he sees that the thing trying to attack the hostage here is like this giant spider. So he's like, I gotta put a stop to this. But then he finds out that the guy who was captured is actually, not a gorgeous woman or anything, but is actually a guy named Rico the Sicko. Who, if you've seen my previous reviews, he's one of Phil's like arch nemesis, I guess you could say. He mainly just antagonizes Phil. It's not really a main bad guy. It's like a low-level crook. But yeah, this is a Rico the Sicko. Yeah, so they're Goblin's trying to rescue him. He sees that, I think that's supposed to be Conan, I think. Yeah, this guy with like a big sword. It looks really cool. And he's like about to kill Rico, but then the Goblin like tries to zap the big guy. And the big guy's like, yeah, I'm not having that. So we keep going. And then Green Goblin, or Phil Urich, explains his background and how he got here. He's like, he sees this reward for the Goblin. He's like, what, they're really putting a reward out on me? And his friend Meredith, it's like, yeah, they're putting out a reward on you. So he feels like, maybe I could turn myself in and get the cash. Maybe I could earn some money. Because as I've discussed in previous reviews for this Green Goblin series, Phil's really a character who's very much about himself. Like, he doesn't really care for the heroics. He doesn't really care for getting into the heroic action or whatever. He's really in it for himself, which is kind of why I think he's an interesting character, because you don't see characters a lot like that. But yeah, he's thinking, I can turn myself in, get a reward, get some money, which he tries to do. But then he also finds out that Rico is tailing him too, because he's like, okay, Rico's basically like, okay, Phil, so your uncle like prints the Green Goblin stories. You're close to him. You obviously have some dirt on the Goblin. Maybe you could fill me in so I could, capture the bounty on the Green Goblin. And Phil's like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. So, anyways, he goes back to his loft, his apartment where he lives. He's kind of contemplating like, maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe I shouldn't turn myself in. Like, if I can't handle myself, sorry guys, if I can't handle myself against Rico, I'm not going to be able to handle myself against a more powerful guy. But then, he gets the call and he's like, yeah, you can, we want the Goblin, so you can get the reward. So, keep going. Phil decides to meet at the area where he's supposed to meet the guy who was going to give him the reward for the Goblin. It's like this abandoned alley. It's not, deserted alley. It's not suspicious at all. Yeah, so he goes. He brings out his remote controller and he calls his Goblin glider to him. And he, suits up. But then he finds out that, like, Rico's was actually tailing Phil. So the Goblin goes to Rico and just like, why are you telling him? Why are you telling Phil? Why are you doing all this? And he goes, I just, I was hoping he would lead me to you so, he could capture the bounty on him. But then this trash truck comes out of nowhere and just, like, sucks him up. And that's sort of how it explains how he got there. Basically, how Phil and Green Goblin got there to MURDERWORLD. So, yeah, so there's a fight. He jumps up and he defeats Conan, or the barbarian guy, by like doing a jump and then bouncing off his head. And then he saves Rico, you know, laughing in the night. And he saves him and he goes off. And you know, Gaunt's like really ticked off with Arcade. He's like, you know, you're just enjoying this. You know, I need him dead. You know, I don't need you to, you know, to have fun and be joyful. We need to kill this guy. Arcade's like, yeah, all in due time, you know. He's kind of like the Joker. He has like a very artistic sense, I guess. So yeah, anyways, he's flying off with Green Goblin's flying off with Rico. He's like, yeah, I can tell. I may not be the smartest guy in the shed, but I can tell. Even I can tell this is an illusion. And he's like, he sees something in the forest, and he goes, whoa, it's Spider-Man. You know, maybe he can help me. You know, help me out. And because this Green Goblin and Spider-Man are arch enemies. Like, because Phil doesn't know Peter Parker or any of that stuff. So, but anyways, yes. But Spider-Man starts attacking him. Phil's like, what the heck's up with that? Why do you attack me? And then got Colossus here too, from the X-Men. So then they get into a fight. Green Goblin's wondering why Spider-Man isn't really breathing breathing in any of his fumes. Cause, you know, yeah. So why isn't he breathing any of his fumes? So he's like, maybe something's up, and he ends up taking out Spider-Man. And he ends up taking out Colossus over here with one of his finger blasters. Or sparkle blasters, whatever you want to call them. And he finds out that Colossus was actually a robot this whole time. So apparently they're dealing with robots and illusions. This is apparently what MURDERWORLD is. So Arcade tries to up his game. He sends out rain and lightning. Yeah, and so then they go into this cave to protect themselves from the rain and lightning. And they find that there's like a big robotic Hulk in the cave. Of course, Phil and Rico are pretty freaked out by that, so they retreat. You know, not wanting to go up against the Hulk, obviously. Sorry about that. It's one of... Yeah, so anyways, so they escape. They meet up with a robotic Dr. Doom here. And, I know Dr. Doom tries to fight them, but then Phil throws his pumpkin bombs. Completely missing, by the way. Because, you know, he's not that skilled, really. Phil isn't really that skilled. But he ends up breaking a hole in the air. He's able to escape. So that's cool. And then he runs off. It's like, yeah, I need to get out of here. And then Gaunt's just like, but no, then Phil finds out that, like, who the two culprits are. He sees a guy in a suit, and he sees Gaunt. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm not... Yeah, you may want to try to fix this, but I'm not going to let that happen. So he activates his glider. It's a remote that activates his glider, that sends his glider to him, and it crashes through the system and stuff, and it explodes. And, you know, he defeats Gaunt and Arcade, and Gaunt's pretty ticked off, because it's like, my contractor wanted him dead. Like, what are you doing? And he goes, it's an art, you know, I'm an artist, you know? I'm creative with my murdering, you know? It's like, okay. But anyways, Green Goblin's like, get a grip, man. Like, calm down, because Rico's just freaking out like crazy. So then Goblin calls his glider. He hops on his glider, and he just heads off. You know, he doesn't want to fight him or anything. So yeah, so Gaunt's just ticked off at Arcade here. But Arcade's like, you know, we escaped fair and square. You know, you'll get refunded your money and everything. Your employer will be okay. You know, all that stuff. So Goblin brings Rico back. Goblin's like, yeah, I saved you, but don't congratulate me yet. As of now, you now work for me. You know, since I saved your life, you owe me. So since I saved your life, you know, you owe me. So now you work for me. And he's like, yeah, sure, I work for you now. So Phil's arch nemesis in the previous comics works for him, which is pretty cool. But sadly, he doesn't go anywhere. So, but anyways, so Phil goes back to his house. He takes off his mask, and he finds out that Arcade actually paid him the bounty. So Phil Urich is a rich man now, and he's pretty you know, if you can't tell, he's pretty happy about it. So, but yeah, that was Green Goblin issue 10. It's a good issue. There's not a lot to it. It's simple. You know, he gets trapped. He has to fight off a bad guy. He gets trapped in MURDERWORLD. You know, he has to fight these robots. It's a cool little issue. It's nothing like too in character or too in depth, but it's cool. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. This is Dark Storm Comic Reviews, signing off.